The Sharu were a mammalian species native to the planet Tramis 3 in the Outer Rim. Like the Cephi, they were a humanoid species, but while the Cephi were uncannily beautiful, the Sharu were just uncanny. They were tall and thin, with bluish silver skin, long golden hair, angular faces, big black eyes, and small noses. The Sharu shared their homeworld with a variety of dinosaur-like races who would go on to inherit the planet after the Sharu left. They left Tramis 3 when humans arrived, because although the humans were merely refugees, the Sharu did not trust them and viewed their arrival as a bad omen. They relocated to a new planet, which they named after themselves. On their new homeworld, the Sharu set to work building magnificent cities of wonderful geometry, pyramids, cones, cubes, and spheres, all made entirely out of plastic. Although the cities and architecture of the Sharu were magnificent, the Sharu themselves were a modest people who preferred to keep to themselves rather than boast about their accomplishments to the rest of the galaxy. Unfortunately, while modesty was their greatest virtue, secrecy would be their greatest vice. They possessed an artifact called an Osen Stone, a communication device that had been used in the earliest days of the galaxy, kind of like the Palantirs from Lord of the Rings. Like the Palantirs, the Osen Stones had fallen into evil hands, and most had been destroyed, but the Sharu had kept theirs in secret. When they gazed into it, they got the attention of beings from Ilathorion, who quickly targeted them. The architects of Ilathorion sent an army of hideous, malevolent giants called the Rapha to the Sharu's adopted homeworld, with instructions to either recruit the Sharu or exterminate them. To protect themselves, the Sharu responded by burying their cities, leaving only the pyramids visible. Sadly, that was not enough to stop the Rapha. In desperation, they created a device called the Mind Harp, which, when activated, sealed up their memories and knowledge and transformed them into a primitive race called the Toka. The Toka were husks compared to the original Sharu. Their eyes shrank, their skin lost its blue hue and took on a deathly pallor, and they went from merely thin to outright emaciated. Even their hair turned stark white. But worst of all, they lost all of their knowledge, including how to change back once the threat had passed. Now trapped in their own bodies, all they could do was wait and hope that somebody would come along and set them free. That hope was eventually fulfilled in 4 ABY when Lando Calrissian and his droid companion Vuffy-Ra arrived on the Toka's homeworld, which had been made into an imperial colony and was now called Rapha 4, though thankfully the Rapha themselves were long gone. Lando and Vuffy-Ra had been hired to find the Mind Harp, which they did. With the help of the High Priest of the Toka, they entered the Great Pyramid of Sharu on the planet Rapha 5, won the favor of the AI that controlled the pyramid, and found the Mind Harp, which then transported them back to Rapha 4, where it was taken by the governor, Duddy's Mur. Duddy's Mur believed that the Mind Harp would give him control over the minds of everyone in the Rapha system, maybe even the galaxy, but he was very incorrect. When he activated the Mind Harp, it killed him on the spot and sent out resonant waves throughout the Rapha system, which undid all the changes that had happened to it so long ago. The Toka changed back into the Sharu, tall, blue-skinned, golden-haired, and with all of the memories that they had once sealed up. They were none too happy to find out that outsiders, especially humans, had taken over their system in the time that they had been sealed up as the Toka, and so they revolted. Their ancient plastic cities emerged from the ground, destroying everything that had been built up on top of it. The surviving colonists and settlers fled in terror, and all trade to the Rafa system stopped. Unfortunately, the newly emerged Sharu could not hide forever, because their reawakening caused a stir in the galactic community. Before long, outsiders came back, eager to learn what the Sharu knew. The Sharu were not telling, though, and they pretended to be amnesiacs, keeping their secrets to themselves, just in case their ancient enemies might still be around. The Sharu first appeared and received a backstory in the book Lando Calrissian and the Mind Harp of Sharu by author L. Neil Smith. Released in 1983, shortly after The Return of the Jedi hit theaters, Lando Calrissian and the Mind Harp of Sharu was part of that early wave of expanded universe material from before the prequels, which could go to pretty weird places. However, it was very important to the expanded universe, as it was the first mention of the Celestials. I didn't have to do a lot of imagining for this drawing, as the Sharu were pretty well described. For their clothing, I took inspiration from the Atlanteans from Disney's Atlantis: The Lost Empire, and the Sheikah tribe from the video game Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild. What really struck my imagination was the plastic cities of the Sharu, as they allowed me to draw, no pun intended, upon a source of inspiration for me, early computer animation. Here's my illustration of two Sharu, one holding the Mind Harp, the other holding an Ocean Stone, as they stand above their great plastic city. To be honest, this drawing isn't everything I had hoped, but I don't hate it either. I hope all of you like it, and I'll see you all in the next video. Until next time, peace out, and may the Force be with you.